Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you.
Hey, everybody. What's up this evening? How's everybody doing? I hope you all are doing well. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Welcome to this evening's edition of Mocha Moments. I'm so delighted you all have joined us and you've joined in early tonight. Good evening to all of you that are a part of the Mocha crew: Lachelle, Jackie, Toya, Pamela, Ann, Ted Kazam, Cassandra, Dr. Pat, Angela, Ann, Deborah, Tisha, Darlene, Vonda, Kathy. Good evening to each and every one of you tonight. And let me say how much I appreciate you all getting on much earlier tonight. I'm really appreciative of that. That way I don't have to sit here and try to ramble waiting for people to come on. I know we're going to have a few people that get on a little later, but kudos to all of you that logged in once you received the notification that we are on live. Good evening, Erica, T. Reed. Thank you for joining us tonight. Those of you that are part of the Mocha crew, thank you for throwing up that Mocha hashtag. If you're not yet committed, member of the Mocha crew, you can do so tonight simply by throwing up that hashtag Mocha crew. That says that you're with us, you're committed to being with us each and every time we come on to share. And the Mocha crew is special because the Mocha crew is a community of people who just believe in adding value to other people. And I hope every last one of you who have committed to being a part of the Mocha crew sincerely takes that to heart. It's just the simple things that we're able to do for one another to be a blessing for one another. I'm not just talking about for us within the Mocha crew, but wherever we go, we just want to be a blessing to other people and do whatever we can to add value to other people. That's my primary objective for coming on and sharing with you each and every night. Right now, I'm in the midst of a 30-day challenge, and this is the last week of that 30-day challenge. And some of you have been with me every day of the challenge, and let me say I thank you for that. Now, it's not going to end once the 30 days are up. We're just going to adjust our schedule. We won't be coming on every night, but we will be coming on regularly to share with you. So don't fret. I'm not going away. I'm going to be right here. We're going to keep this thing going. Those that are part of the Mocha crew, another thing that they do, they believe in sharing this link with other people, inviting them to join us for each and every one of our wonderful sessions. And we've been having some tremendous discussions over the past several days. Those of you that may be joining us for the very first time and you want to know what this is really all about, this is a platform simply where I share practical wisdom for daily living. I'm your host, Dr. Tony B. Cobbins. I am an ICF certified life coach. I'm a trainer, a consultant. Many people have known me for many years as a pastor, preacher, teacher, bishop, but this particular platform is not necessarily a preaching platform, although I do share wisdom that is based on the Word of God. All of my wisdom principles, I gained them from the scriptures, from the Bible. I make no apologies about that. On this platform here on Mocha Moments, we invite you and welcome you to share your comments and even post whatever questions that you may have with regards to the topic at hand. I'd like for us to kind of stay on topic when it comes to the questions and the comments. I only ask that you would do two things in particular, maybe three. First of all, I would ask that you would certainly be respectful to your host. I'd appreciate it that, whatever comments you have, I'm open to receiving your comments, but I ask that you would remain respectful, especially to your host. But then I ask that you would remain respectful to the other viewers who may have comments or input that they'd like to share with the rest of the group. And then the last thing is that I just ask that you would be engaged yourself. This what makes the experience that much more enjoyable when you will be engaged as you're being engaged and you're sharing your comments. Let me greet a couple more people: Denise, Ron, and of course, look who just popped on. Lady Ann is in the house. Lady Ann is in the house. Some of you might be asking, well, who's Lady Ann? Well, Lady Ann is my lovely wife, my partner in ministry, my partner in life. And I'm always, always, always tremendously honored every time she pops in on the conversation, which is every night. She's with us every night. Every time I come on, she's on with us. Antoinette, good evening to you. God bless you. Much love back to you, sweetheart. Love you much. Let's get right into what we want to talk about tonight. Tonight, I just want to give you a word of wisdom, a word of encouragement. And I also would like your input and your reaction to the subject matter that we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight, I want to encourage you, don't trip. Triumph. Don't trip, triumph. Overcome the awful things that people do to you. You know, I have to honestly say that I've had some awful things happen to me. I have had my share of misfortunes, much of which came at the hands of people. And, you know, when you work with people, as I have for the better part of my life, almost for since my early childhood, if you will. And I do seriously mean that. My early childhood, I've had to work with people. I found out that people can put a hurting on you, that people closest to you can put the worst hurting on you. Now, before some of you all say, well, since your early childhood, yes, I've been working with people. I've been in ministry leadership. Some of you may or may not know. You've heard me share this. For those of you that have never heard me share this, the reality is, the reason why I can say I've been working with people since even now my early childhood is because I was literally the director of my dad's adult choir at Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church, Kansas City, Kansas, at the age of 10 years old. 10 years old. I was directing the choir, responsible for teaching and selecting songs for morning worship or whenever the choir had to sing anywhere. Now, again, I took that job very seriously, and people respected me for what I was gifted enough to do. It caused me to have to mature quite early in life, but it also caused me to have experiences with people. Believe it or not, one of the most challenging jobs in ministry, right behind that of the pastor, is to be a choir director. That's a challenging job because you're working with all kind of personalities, and people can come at you all kind of ways. They don't care how old or young you are. When they have an opinion or a feeling, they're going to let you know just how they feel about certain things. And because I've been in that role for such a long time, the role of leadership, I've had some encounters with people that I care not to ever have to relive. Okay. So again, my experience has been this since I've been pastoring, that the people that are closest to you can put the worst kind of hurting on you. One of the reasons why this is so is because the people that are closest to you have the greatest opportunity to blindside you. They have the greatest opportunity to ambush you with the unexpected, you know, and they leave you asking the question, wow, where did that come from? Or what did I do to deserve that? Now, I'm not suggesting by any means that pastors are the only ones that have had that kind of experience. If you have any kind of association, particularly with more than one person, you are likely to have had that kind of experience where somebody came at you or did something to you and it seemed as though you were blindsided, like it came out of nowhere, and it leaves you baffled. It leaves you wondering, man, how did that happen? Why did this happen to me? And why is the person that's doing this to me, why are they doing this to me? Listen, being blindsided or ambushed is really hard on people uh, who are always trying to serve the best interest of others. I've discovered that sometimes the people you have served and helped the most tend to hurt you the worst. They tend to hurt you the worst. My dad, the late Pastor O.L. Cobbin Sr., used to always say that if you ever want anybody to turn on you, then all you have to do is help them, especially help them when they're at their worst. I don't know why it is, but for some reason or another, it just seems like that people that you've done the most for can sometimes tend to turn on you quickest. I don't know why that is, but it just seems, in my estimation, maybe it's because they seem to think that certain people have an obligation to cater to them. Or sometimes people will turn on you after you've helped them to somehow divorce themselves from any feelings of obligations to you. They feel like that if they do something harsh enough to them, or to you rather, then you will more likely separate yourself from them. And once you separate yourself from them, you thereby free them of any feelings of obligated to you for the things that you've done for them. I hope that made sense. That's been my experience. When my dad first said that whole thing about if you want a person to turn on you, all you have to do is help them. Yeah, I really didn't understand it. It kind of blew my mind. It, didn't make a whole lot of sense. Of course, I was still very, very young. And, sometimes it takes us a while to get caught up with old school wisdom. He was speaking out of his experience as well. He wasn't just saying something just to be running his mouth, but he was expressing some of the things that he had experienced. Nevertheless, I just didn't understand it. And to be honest with you, I really didn't believe it when he first said it because it absolutely didn't make sense to me. Why would anyone turn on you whom you have gone out of your way to help, whom you've gone out of your way to serve? Why? It just doesn't make sense. But as the saying goes, that if you live long enough, you will find out that that old school wisdom is so accurate. It is so on point, and you can learn a great deal about life sitting and listening to older people who have had experiences wherein they've gained wisdom that thereby authorizes them or makes them an authority to be able to share what they've experienced with other people. Now, I'm not just one that will just listen to anybody, but when it comes to people who have been through some things and have experienced some things for themselves, and they've made it through some of those tough situations with their integrity intact, with their reputation intact, for me, those are people who are worth listening to and learning from. Again, it just seems like the people that you help, sometimes they have this sense of entitlement as though you are obligated to cater to them. Pastors are often put under pressure to cater to other people. Once again, I'm speaking now from experience. Pastors are often put under pressure to cater to other people. And it's very difficult because pastors have to deal with so many different personalities, people who have their own agendas, people who are not necessarily concerned with the well-being of an entire people, an entire congregation, an entire ministry. But I'm talking about people who are only concerned about themselves, their own well-being. They're only interested in the things that directly affect them. And to have to deal with those kind of people is very difficult. To feel like you have to cater to a certain people or a certain group of people, it is very difficult. But let me be clear. Often, catering to equates to being controlled by. That's the reason why pastors and leaders, and I hope we have some listening here tonight, you got to be careful about acquiescing to people and trying to cater to people, because as you begin to cater to people, ultimately you may fall in the trap of being controlled by people. So you got to be careful not to cater too much to any one individual or any one group of people. And this is not just for pastors, this is for leaders, period. This can be even now for heads of households or patriarchs or matriarchs of family, people who are dependent on the most within a family unit or whatever. Any kind of leader, you got to be careful not to just cater to a small group, a small clique, or even now just one individual, because once a person knows that you feel obligated to cater to that individual, they're going to then try to turn around and try to control you. And the moment certain people find out they cannot control you, that's when they usually set out to destroy you. They start smear campaigns. They start to try to assassinate your character. They become antagonistic, especially against leaders of organizations. Before you all get too deep in these comments, let me throw up a couple of them, because I don't want to miss any of your comments that could be very germane to this discussion. Tara Kazam says, I have family members that think you should help them. The ones that want a relationship with your wallet, but not you. Oh, you started this thing off real hot right there. Yeah, they want to. Here's what's amazing to me about people like that. People tend to think that they can look at your external appearance and think that they know how to evaluate what's in your wallet or what's in your bank account. Years ago, I had a friend of mine, and I know he was joking at the time, but he came up to me, he said, man, you ought to let me have some of that paper you got. I know you got money, you rolling in it. You know, that house you live in, that car you drive, those clothes you wear. I said, that's the reason why I don't have any money, because I didn't spend it on the house I live in, the car I drive, and the clothes I wear. And, you know, we were having fun with it, but some people seriously assess the financial status of people that they observe, or family members, people that they try to get close to for whatever reason. They assess the financial status of individuals by how that individual looks, what they drive, and all the external trappings. And they feel like, for some reason or another, they feel entitled to whatever it is you're earning. And if you're not willing to open up your wallet and as the old folks used to say, turn your pockets inside out, they get upset with you. And again, they try to destroy you because you refuse to cater to them in a manner in which they desire. Toya says you can help some people 1,000 times, and on that one time you don't, they will drag your name through the mud. Absolutely. And again, let me let you all in on something. And I really, y'all, please understand, I don't mean to just harp on this as a pastor, but some of you really don't understand that's what's taking place sometimes when pastors' names are drugged through the mud simply because that pastor refused to be controlled by certain individuals. I've had people that have been in my life, that have been a part of the ministry, who seem to love me with an unwavering love. They pretended to be loyal and devoted to me as a friend, as a church member, as, you know, whatever label they were carrying at the time. But the very minute that I didn't do what they wanted me to do, then all of a sudden I became the worst individual that was ever placed on the planet. It's sad. It's sad. And here's the bad part about it. People like that, especially in ministry, they will turn around and start to say disparaging things about the pastor. And I'm saying this, putting it in general now about the pastor, because it hasn't just happened to me. It has happened to several pastors. It's happened to several leaders. I know it's happened to several people in general. But with the pastor situation in particular, if that person happened to be a person of influence within the ministry, and now they have turned and started to create a negative narrative around that pastor, people tend to believe that individual, because 9 times out of 10, that pastor is not in a position to try to publicly defend himself. And it's useless anyway, because if the pastor tries to defend himself, most people are not going to believe the pastor anyway, because they feel as though that the person that is carrying on the campaign smear against the pastor, he's more like them, more relatable to them. He or she knows how they are behind the scenes, so they must be right. They must be telling the truth. I can't tell you how far from the truth that is. I can't make you believe how far from the truth that is, not just with me, but with pastors in general. You know, we've got to be careful not to receive that kind of stuff on people, period. Whether they're a pastor or a leader or just a regular church member, a friend, a family member. Don't always believe that person that all of a sudden went from loving a person to now they're trying to totally destroy that person. If you really get the totality of the backstory, you will find out that the individual that's carrying on and stirring up and passing on all the negative mess that's being spewed within the congregation or within the group, you'll find out that they're the ones who was at the root of the problem, who initiated the problem, but they will never tell what they did. They will only tell how that pastor or that other person responded to what they did. T. Reed said they're on the outside looking in and don't understand your struggles. You're absolutely right. Tisha says, never lend what you cannot afford to lose. I'm not just a pastor, I'm a poor person. That's one of my quotes. You're right. Y'all, I'm telling you, there are things in there that I share that I know to some people are going to be truly eye-opening. Kathy says, can't judge a book by its cover. You've got to open up the book and read the content, because there are some things that are hiding on the inside that people are very good at covering up. And they may appear or present themselves as innocent, but the reality is they are a piece of work. I'm telling you the truth. Toya says, if you think about it, that's how a lot of people treat Christ. If they don't get what they want or when they want it, then they turn away from him. There you go, my little young scholar. That's powerful right there. But it's so true. It is so true. That is exactly how people treat Christ. They treat the church like that. They treat God like that. And it's all a matter of them not getting their way. It's sad, but it is so true. And so again, you got to be really careful about how you engage people like that. You got to know how to respond and react to people who are trying to destroy you simply because they can't control you. Now, for most people, when they have a situation like what I just described occur in their life, their initial response to attacks against them is to start tripping. And their tripping can occur or manifest in a number of ways. Okay. They may initially feel frustration. Now, who wouldn't be frustrated, especially when you're dealing with someone who's supposed to be in relationship with you, a person with whom you have a mutual friendship type connection, someone you probably have confided in, someone you have trusted and even at times maybe even depended upon, and all of a sudden they go from being a confidant to being a person who seems to be out to totally destroy you. That can cause feelings of frustration, depending on who it is, depending on the situation. It can cause feelings of sorrow, can cause feelings of sadness. I can tell you honestly, there have been some people who I have worked with in ministry, whom I have trusted, whom I have confided in, who literally turned on me. And to some degree, it broke my heart. It really saddened me, because I made the mistake of thinking that these individuals, and there have been more than one or two, would never do me the way that they ultimately wound up doing me. And so it broke my heart, and in breaking my heart, it also somewhat conditioned me moving forward, in that I became very guarded. To some degree, for a long time, I was guarded. It caused me to not want to trust people, and that's not really a comfortable feeling for me, because I try to always give people the benefit of the doubt. I try to view people as I would desire others to view me. I want people to feel like that when they encounter me, when they engage me, when they come into a relationship with me, that I'm going to be a trustworthy person within the confines of that relationship. And again, when you are a trusting person and your trust has been violated, whatever way it happens, it can create feelings of frustration, sorrow, and sadness. There's some other feelings that I want to share, but let me get back to a few of your comments, and I'll come back to this in a minute. Ter Kazam says, after they talk bad about you, they have the nerve to come back later and ask to borrow something again. Wow. Oh my goodness. I know that probably most all of us that are connected on this platform tonight can relate to that. Some of us probably that brings back feelings of trauma with regards to certain people, just to think about how some people have done you. Here it is. I've been in situations wherein I had to scrape up money to try to help certain people out. I'm telling you, I have loaned money that I really didn't have to loan. It really, at the time when I was loaning this money, I had other obligations that I needed to meet, but based on that individual's promise, and this has happened more than once, that they would get the monies right back to me. I felt like, okay, I can trust them to do that. And if they get it back to me in the time that they said that they were going to get it back to me, then I'd be good for meeting my own obligations. Well, I can tell you right now, I sit here literally years later, and I have not been reimbursed for the loans that I've made. And listen, I promise you all, and this has happened with more than one individual. The people that I've loaned that money to, they've gone ghost on me. We used to talk on a regular basis. Again, this has happened more than once. And now I haven't heard from them in years because I think some of them are afraid that I'm going to ask them where my money is. I've chalked it up as a loss. And as Tisha has already alluded to something that I shared in the book, is that I've come to the point that if I can't afford to lose it, then I definitely won't loan it. That can get us into a whole nother discussion, a whole nother conversation. Kathy says this happens so heavily in the workplace too. And it's just because people just take you for granted. People, for whatever reason, feel like that they are entitled to treat you whatever way they choose to treat you, yet be able to benefit from you. That doesn't make sense. You know, the old saying used to say, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Listen, I'm telling you, that's probably the reason why I don't own dogs. Because if a dog that I owned ever bit me while I was feeding him, he's gone. He's out. I'm done. You're not going to bite me, and I'm feeding you as well. Now, I know some of us can be that way with dealing with people. Once people bite you, you're like, okay, you know what? I don't have to go through this type of treatment. And so you choose to do something different. Dr. Pat says, Toya, that reference to Christ is powerful. I agree 100%, and I love it. Again, that's my little young scholar, Toya is. It's so true, especially nowadays, Toya responds. Lachelle says, but when someone treats them like that, they are such a victim of the one who is supposed to be a Christian. Oh my gosh. In case you all really don't fully understand what Lachelle is saying here, is that that's the card they pull out first. When you don't do what they want you to do, they get upset with you, and the first thing they challenge is your Christianity. You're supposed to be a Christian, and you won't even do this for me. You won't even do that for me. Just because a person is a Christian doesn't mean that they're an idiot. Doesn't mean that they're not wise. As a matter of fact, if you want to go by biblical wisdom, according to the book of Proverbs, Solomon's wisdom suggests that you not be a lender because of some of the problems that lending creates. Solomon says, don't even co-sign on a note. Read the Bible. But people say that kind of thing, trying to put a guilt trip on the one that they are trying to get something out of. And so they'll appeal to their Christianity. Well, I'm still saved whether I lend you money or not. Let's talk about whether or not you're a Christian when you borrow money and then don't pay it back. And sometimes the only reason why you're borrowing money from one individual is because you borrowed money from another individual and you still haven't paid them back. So you can't go back to that well. So you got to find another well that you can go to and borrow money. And the cycle continues. And that cycle is you borrowing and you never repaying. How about that? You're supposed to be a Christian yourself, and you won't even pay the notes that you agreed to pay, such as your house note and your car note and your credit cards and things of that nature. So again, I know I'm getting kind of off on the deep end here, but y'all see where I'm coming from. Jackie says, rather than being guarded, I would call it being cautious. Yes, I'm that as well. Toya says, I agree, Bishop. It hurts to be apprehensive or afraid to help and give when you're a giver at heart. It does. It causes consternation in you. There's a struggle in you when you want to help people, but then you can't help people because you've been done wrong so many times. And then you have these repeat offenders who are not ashamed to come back and try to pull or borrow from you a second time, even after they haven't paid the first time around. Pam Stone says, you can't allow everyone to have access to you. I'll say amen to that. You just can't, especially depending on your situation. It's hard for pastors to allow people to have access to them, because sometimes when people have too much access to pastors and leaders, they become too familiar with them, and they start to somewhat disrespect that pastor and leader because they've had interaction with that pastor or leader outside of the working arena or ministry arena. Let's see what Denise says. It's hard to trust someone that has damaged a friendship. I'm working on a situation like that. I think she meant to put now. God bless you. We're gonna be praying for you, because that is tough. And people will vilify you when you have a human reaction to people literally doing you wrong. Lachelle says they sure do. I'm so soft-hearted. I have fell for game more than once. Welcome to the club. I finally found out how to say no. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It feels good. Yes, that little small word can be the most liberating word you can ever utter out of your mouth. Sometimes you can't help but to say no. Tisha says, the one time I let someone borrow money, I never expected it back for real, as I knew what kind of persons they were. So I never I guess you were going to say, ask for it back. Okay. You said I never worried about getting it back. Okay. All right. Thank you for that follow up. I appreciate you doing that for us. Terkazam says, what my grandma always told me, never loan more than you can afford to give away. I agree with grandma. Antoinette said, yep, and get the money and get ghost on you. They do that. They get the money and get ghost. I don't loan money anymore unless you complete my credit worthiness application. Oh, okay, y'all. Listen, this is extremely funny to me because my cousin, Kathy is my cousin, my big cousin, love her dearly. What's really funny to me is, as hilarious as this may sound, she means exactly what she says. Now, you'll only find out what your credit worthiness is with her once you make the request to borrow from her. Okay. Now, don't get it twisted. I've never asked to borrow from her. I've never needed to borrow from her. But I know my cousin, and she's a person that will just keep it real with you. She will not hesitate to tell you, no, I'm not loaning you a dime because I know how you are and I know I won't get it back. No, I'm not the one. Cousin, if I'm wrong, you can post up there. No, he's wrong. She knows I'm right. I'm right about that. And I tell you, I love her boldness. I love her forthrightness. You know, sometimes you just got to tell people how it is. Denise said it's hard to trust some that has damaged a friendship. Okay, I think I may have come back to that. I always ask how they would know a Christian is supposed to behave. That's a good question right there. When it comes to that whole thing, you're supposed to be a Christian. That's a good question to ask. How would they know how a Christian is to behave? Tracy says, yeah, you only get to burn me once. After that, you can count it up as you have burnt your own bridge down. And I was nice enough to hand you a match. Y'all, whoa, man. I'm gonna call y'all the funny philosopher crew because y'all have some funny philosophies, but I'm loving every minute of it. Tisha says they robbing Peter to pay Paul. That happens quite a bit. Give like it's a gift, and if you get it back, that's great. Tracy says that's good. I'm going to use that. Kathy, now she responds to that commentary that I just gave concerning how she deals with people. She said exactly. So everything that I shared with you concerning how Kathy does, she is just confirming it. She says exactly. And you know, once again, I tell you, I absolutely have always loved and admired her because I've never had to wonder where Kathy was coming from. Angela, my sister, who is also Kathy's cousin, said, that's a good plan, Kathy. Kathy comes back and said, I don't pull no punches. No, she sure doesn't. She sure absolutely doesn't. And, you know, sometimes you just have to be that way when people are bringing foolishness to you, having unreasonable expectations of you. And then when you don't acquiesce to their expectations, then they want to try to destroy you. Player Hater loves the funny philosopher crew. Maybe we're going to have to start that hashtag, throw that up every now and then. But I know there's going to be some objectors. Jackie says to Player Hater, iron sharpens iron. That's exactly right. But let me get back to some of these responses that you have when people start to attack you. Initially, you start to trip, and it's manifested through frustration, sorrow, sadness, and this. But sometimes you get a little angry. Your tripping manifest through your anger. And for Bible believing, Bible reading people, the Word of God says that we are allowed to become angry, but we just sin not once we get angry. Sometimes when it comes to being angry, uh, you might express your disappointment, your frustration, even now your anger, but you do it in a way that doesn't violate any biblical principles. That's quite all right. You know, because sometimes people feel as though that because you're a Christian that you should never get angry about anything. Well, I'm sorry. Once you got saved, you didn't become totally detached from all of your human emotions. That's not what happens. You just learn how to temper your human emotions. Sometimes when people have attacked you, those who are close to you or have been close to you, it can stir up feelings of worry, feelings of anxiety, feelings of depression, feelings of mental, emotional paralysis. All of these feelings stir up when you've been hurt, when you've been blindsided, when you've been ambushed. Daryl Phillips, welcome to the conversation. He says, "Why come Christian folks be player haters?" Can I slightly correct that? Um, I think the better question is, why come church folks be player haters? Because everybody that goes to church is not necessarily a Christian. And sometimes we throw true Christians in bad bowls and they shouldn't be thrown there. The question is a legitimate question. Why do people who are regular church attendees, why are they player haters at times? I guess it's just that carnal nature. You know, if your flesh hasn't truly been transformed by the Spirit of God, by the Word of God, you're going to continue to do what the unredeemed, the unsaved, the unbeliever does by nature and by practice. You know, again, everyone that attends church is not necessarily saved individuals or born again individuals. They haven't gone through a true transformation. Some of them are there just out of religious routine. And I'm not going to knock that, because I'm of the opinion that the more you hang around the right church and receiving the right word, which is straight from the scriptures, the better chance that you have of having your life transformed by hearing a word from the Lord. Now, I've said that this is not a preaching platform, but I did put the disclaimer on there that every now and then I have to, again, uh, refer to biblical principles in order to get the point across, especially when a question has been asked like the one Daryl just asked. And I appreciate the question, but I hope that we will seriously consider some of what I just had to offer in terms of an explanation. But, you know, I can personally tell you that I've gone through all of these emotions when I've had negative experiences with dealing with people whom I have worked with or who was close to me in whatever form of relationship that we had at that given time. Let me see what Toya has to say. You put up a lot here. She said, I used to have that bad. I would get angry and then it would turn into a grudge. And now I have a problem with you. I would tell everybody what you did. I've come a mighty long way from that, though. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. You know, you're just being honest. You're just being very transparent. There are a lot of us who have experienced that gamut, that whole array of feelings, just like you have expressed. You know, most people, if they were to be honest with themselves, they could tell you that when terrible things happen to them, that they they would get angry, and it would turn into a grudge, and they would have a problem with those people, and they would tell everybody who would stop long enough to listen. But thank God that the Spirit of God is capable. He has the power to transform us and change us from dealing like that. Daryl Phillips says, thank you for the explanation. I'm glad I could oblige you. Thank you again for the question, and thank you for your participation in this conversation. It is much welcome here on this platform. Erica, action speaks louder than words. Sometimes our words can speak louder than our actions. Yeah, they do. They do. They speak very, and you know what? It also depends on who's doing the listening, because sometimes if you're talking to people who are filled with godly wisdom, then they know how to turn off the nonsense and the noise, and they stop listening to what you're saying because they can see what you're doing. How about that? Dr. Pat says, thank you, Tisha. We appreciate you very much for the reminders you so beautifully provide during our platform. That's right. I say kudos to Tisha as well. I see you all are appreciating Tisha right there. But again, despite the fact that we may go through this whole range of emotions in response to what people do to try to attack us or tear us down, we've got to understand that tripping never resolves the issue. In fact, tripping may prove to only make matters worse. And once again, I speak from experience. When I started tripping with people who I felt like were tripping with me, it didn't change a thing. As a matter of fact, I had to be very, very careful, because if I fell into the trap of trying to go tit for tat with them, I had much more to lose than they did. They didn't have a whole congregation of people who were following them and watching them to see what kind of example they were going to set. Not just a whole congregation of people, but a whole community of people. You know, I don't say this by any means to brag or to boast or to make it sound like I'm all that, but there are a lot of people within this community, within the city, within the state even now, who know me as a pastor, preacher, and all that, right? And so I've got to be careful not to fall into the trap of trying to go tit for tat with a person who's really doing nothing but trying to tear me down and trying to make me look bad in the public eye. And when I start to operate on their lower level, then people do begin to question my integrity as a pastor, preacher, Christian, and all of that. And they won't pay any attention at all to that person who's really trying to destroy my life. So tripping with people, you know, lowering your standards, that doesn't resolve the issue. Instead of tripping, why not become determined to triumph over the negative situation? I'm going to give you a few things that you can do to overcome the negative situation. Before I do that, Toya says, yes, I ain't tripping anymore. Good for you. That's wisdom right there from a young lady. Yes, I had to learn that, Pam says. Everything doesn't deserve a response, and I'm sure not wasting my energy on foolishness. Now, that's amazing, because the first tip that I was going to give you with regards to overcoming those situations and triumphing over bad situations is the first tip I was going to give you is don't give the situation energy. Just don't do it. Don't give the situation energy. Lenny says, rather, it's important that we not allow that seed to become a root of bitterness. I was there and didn't realize it. Thank God for deliverance. I think that's very well said. Notice that she said, not allow that seed to become a root. And if you're not careful, that root will become a tree. And if you continue to harbor bitterness, that tree will become a forest. Then you really got a problem. And some people don't realize that they're on the verge or on the brink of making matters worse for themselves because they're responding or reacting based on their feelings, based just strictly on their emotions and not based on godly wisdom. Okay. The next thing I would tell you is to analyze the situation only for the sake of strategically counteracting the situation. Sometimes when you're dealing with foolishness, you got to be strategic with how you handle it. And when you're being strategic, you're not out there running your mouth, letting everybody know what you're doing or attempting to do, because if you're letting everybody else know, the person who's trying to destroy you, they're getting wind of it as well. And you don't need to give them any ammunition or any insight on the strategy that you're using to counteract their foolishness. The next tip I would give you is this: never let them see you sweat. Anytime you encounter that individual, have your game face on. If they want to act like they ain't doing nothing, you act like they're not doing a thing. Act like you're not being affected in the least bit. Make them wonder even if you know what they've attempted to do to you. But never let them see you sweat. Another way of saying it, keep it moving as though you're not affected in the least. Just keep it moving. Like some of you have already stated, you don't have time to give your energy to that kind of foolishness. That's the way you get over that crazy stuff. You know, some things you just have to let die. I've gotten to the point where even if somebody brings something to me negative that they heard somebody else say about me, I will finally say, well, you know what? If you choose to believe that, there's absolutely nothing I can do about that. Either you know me or you don't. And if you believe the nonsense that's been spewed your way, then apparently you don't know me. And I can't help it if you don't know me. It's okay for you to have whatever opinion you want to have about me, but I'm not going to feed into that. That's what you want to believe. Okay. Or I'll ask them first, well, do you believe it? And even if they tell me, well, I don't know. Well, then that's your answer right there. Even if you want to believe it, even if there's a possibility that you believe it, then I'm like, okay, you have that right to believe whatever you want to believe. K Child says, I keep my poker face on. That's what you do. Keep it on. But listen, this is my practice. I do it with a smile. People really can't tell what's behind your smile. They can assume some things when there's a frown on your face or you look disturbed while you're in their presence. But if you keep that smile on and you go about doing your stuff as though life is good, life is great, life is wonderful, and you're not going to disrupt any of that, that's the message that you send when you have that smile on your face at any given time that you encounter people who are trying to destroy you Tracy said, that's good. Always be calm, cool, and collected. That's right. I'd be like, I ain't going back and forth with you. Deuces. Yeah. I don't blame you. That's what you have to do. Kay Child says, definitely right about that. What I've just commented concerning that whole poker face thing. Joyce says, that's good. That's good. You know, you gotta, like I said, maintain who you are, be who you are, do what you do. Listen, watch this. This is one of the things that has really helped me with regards to maintaining my sanity with people who have turned on me, especially those who used to work with me. And that's this. I've learned to do without them what they thought I never could. Some people have credited themselves with your success. You know, those people that says, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't be this, that, or the other. Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in a state of frustration right now. You know, that's about the only credit I can give you for that. You know, some people say, well, if I go, then, you know, that whole thing is going to collapse. That's when you show people the door and then allow them to watch from afar. You continue to do what you do, even without them. Because one thing that we got to keep in mind, particularly as born again believers, is that our help comes from God. And even if you need an individual to assist you in doing what you need to get done or what you're attempting to get done, when one person walks away, God is such an awesome God that he will send someone else in their place that's 2 times better than the person that left and who knows how to be faithful, loyal, and productive consistently and constantly. Wow. Lachelle says, call block and put your car in the garage. Whoa, there go the funny philosophers crew. Y'all are deep, man. Y'all are something else. But, you know, again, you triumph over foolishness by sending a positive message that despite how you've been attacked, despite the fact that people want to see you fail, despite the fact that they want to see if they can make your life miserable, you triumph over those situations by continuing to press forward and go through things with the attitude of business being as usual. Let me get a couple of final comments there. We're going to wrap this up. Lenny says, if they can walk away from you and your help, let them go. Amen. My brother, Bishop Otis Cobbins Jr., senior pastor of Bread of Life East. Years ago, I had some people leave ministry, walk away from the ministry, and they literally were trying to do damage on the way out. And I was feeling pretty bad about it because I felt like I had done nothing but try to treat these people with the utmost respect, people I trusted and all of that. And I was venting to him, my brother, Bishop Otis. And he said, brother, he said, I'm going to tell you what a wise person told me. And that is sometimes you have to be able to see the good in goodbye. That lifted a weight off of me that I can't even begin to tell you how wonderful that felt. Kathy, this is the way I felt. I come to realize this. Purging is good. Sometimes you have to purge. You have to let some people go. I've learned this and I've appreciated this. Some people are in your life for a reason. Some people are in your life for a season, but then some people are in your life for a lifetime. And the reason and the season will at some point come to an end. But those that are in your life for a lifetime, they will stick and stay. Toya says, right, I'm not trying to prove my character to anybody. Either you know who I am from your experience of me and not what someone told you. Either way, I'm good. You know. I don't want to mess this up, but Bishop Charles Bond Jr. He once said to me, he said, I try to meet and encounter as many people as I possibly can because there's a possibility of them meeting my enemies first. Let that soak in. Think about that. Tisha said, people are going to think what they are going to think. That's right. Toya says, wow, now that is great nuggets. See the good and goodbye sometimes. Yes, you absolutely. I'm telling you, that piece of wisdom just really transformed my perception of people walking out of my life. Jackie says, my new motto, see the good in goodbye. Pam said, that's good. Bye, Felicia. Funny philosopher again. There you go. Bye, Felicia. Ted Kazam says, yes, some people are just temporary. Stop trying to hold on to them and let them be. Goodbye. TR Renee says, we often get confused on the seasons. Yes. Yes. Why? Because we become so comfortable and so used to some people. Even people that are annoying, that are really problems. I think, and maybe Toya, maybe you can shed some light on this. Some people that have a codependency attitude, or codependency upon certain people, even when they're not good for you. You can't seem to let them go because you become so accustomed to them being around. And you'll make excuses and justifications for hanging on to terrible people. It's crazy. Now, again, Toya, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, you say I'm good with that? Okay, that's 100. All right, thank you. Tisha said, I've had my share of seasonal friends, and I would spend months, years agonizing on why until it was cemented that some folk are just for a season. Jackie, you done gone old school on us now. Shake, 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 shake the devil off. Oh, my goodness. Wow. I think you all got this one. Kay, let me get a few more. Kay says sometimes justification gets us unnecessarily hurt. That's right. It does. I've learned my lesson. Really, I've learned my lesson. It took quite a few lessons for me to get there, but I've learned my lesson. And one of the reasons why I repeatedly have been hurt is because, again, I'm just this person that wants to give everybody a fair opportunity to show themselves to be the type of person that can be a benefit to my life before I just label them as a nightmare. I hope I made sense with that. Yeah. Rosemary says, come and go. I brought your ticket to the midnight train to Georgia. I'll walk you to the station. There y'all go. Funny philosophers. Toya said, yes, it's comfortable. Too many people are comfortable in toxicity and codependency because it's what they're used to. Well, final comment here. A lot of people share trauma bonds. That is so true. Well, you all get the message. You all get the message. Y'all see where I've come from tonight, and I certainly have appreciated all the comments that you all have made and shared here tonight. I know that I'm not the only one who have benefited from your input, but others on the chat, in the comments, they have benefited as well, I'm sure, because you all have confirmed that throughout the discussion. Once again, just delighted that I've been able to spend this time with you, and I look forward to being right back here on tomorrow night and having another session of Mocha Moments with you. God bless y'all. I love y'all so much. And with that, I'm going to sign off with my typical sign off, in that I'm going to say to you at this time, God bless and good night.